Have you ever felt trapped in an emotional labyrinth, where every exit seems to lead to a new wall? In a world of constant uncertainty, finding clarity seems like an impossible task. But beyond the noise and the fear that paralyzes, there is a path that is both more serene and stronger. This video is not a collection of empty phrases. It is an invitation to discover tools that have strengthened entire generations. These are lessons that have served them in their darkest days. No matter how uncertain your future may be, within you already dwells the capacity to transform pain into wisdom. If you decide to stay until the end, you will find not only momentum, but practical lessons to build an unbreakable mindset. Join me on this journey of self-leadership. But before conquering the chaos of the world, we must learn something fundamental. We must learn to master the fire that burns in our own chest. There are moments in life when we feel a fire inside, a silent fury that doesn't always explode, but burns us slowly through impatience and tension. This flame feeds on the frustration of being ignored, or the helplessness felt in the face of daily injustices. If we do not learn to recognize this fire, it will end up consuming what we love most: our peace, our health, and our relationships. Stoicism does not ask you to extinguish that passion, but to channel it. The goal is to turn rage into clarity, turn impulse into discipline and disorder into purpose, allowing that energy to be the force that pushes you toward a firmer version of yourself. When we allow emotion to drag us away without stopping to breathe, we lose our freedom. We become slaves to our temperament. Marcus Aurelius warned firmly, "He who masters his soul is more powerful than he who conquers cities." In every moment of tension, you face a critical choice. You can give in to blind impulse, or respond with awareness. Mastering your fire does not mean becoming insensitive. It means putting your energy at the service of reason and your highest goals. It is the art of being firm without being cruel, and strong without losing your humanity. Understand that true power does not reside in the shout, but in the absolute control of one's own response. Many confuse self-control with repression, but in reality, it is the highest form of self-respect. When you choose serenity over fury, you do not do it out of weakness, but because you recognize that your inner peace is worth much more than any momentary victory. The world will constantly test you, pushing you to the limit to see who is truly in command. Practicing this mastery is deciding that your life will not be governed by whim, but by a superior vision of who you can become. By ceasing to be a prisoner of your outbursts, you stop being vulnerable to external chaos. Remember that this inner fire can be a curse or a blessing. It all depends on whether you allow it to consume you, or decide to turn it into light. Every time you choose temperance, you declare with authority, "I am not my impulses, I am the one who decides what to do with them." This daily practice is the path toward true strength of spirit, a transformation that allows you to remain calm even in the midst of the storm. However, for this fire to be a guide and not a trap, we must learn something more. We must learn to distinguish which battles deserve our effort, and which simply do not belong to us. One of the hardest lessons to accept is that most of our anxieties are born from trying to change the immutable. We wear ourselves out over the opinions of others, unforeseen events, or the uncertain course of the world. We surrender our energy to circumstances that do not obey our will. Stoicism offers us a tool for immediate liberation, focusing our attention exclusively on what does depend on us. Focus on your actions, your judgment, and your attitude. By stopping the fight against the current of the universe, we stop sinking into unnecessary suffering and begin to build a peace that does not depend on the outside world. Accepting the limits of our influence is not an act of resignation, but of strategic wisdom. It is not about stopping caring about things, but about recognizing where our power ends and where reality begins. When you direct your will inward, cultivating discipline over your thoughts, you become invulnerable to adversity. It is in this conscious surrender of the uncontrollable where authentic peace lies. By letting go of the burden of wanting to master everything, we reclaim responsibility for the only thing that belongs to us: our capacity to choose how to respond to chaos. This flexibility is not weakness. It is the strength of one who knows they do not control the wind. To integrate this lesson, we must train the mind in the small details. Faced with unexpected news, someone else's mistake, or an unfair critique, the instinctive reaction is usually frustration. However, Stoic power is born in the pause. Look for that brief second where you ask yourself, is this under my control? If the answer is no, the only logical action is serene acceptance. If the answer is yes, all your vitality must be focused on the solution. By practicing this discernment, you release an immense amount of energy that was previously wasted on fear. This clarity is only complete when we stop seeing reality as an enemy and begin to embrace it exactly as it is. One of the greatest challenges we face is our instinctive resistance to pain. When something negative occurs, our natural reaction is to fight, deny, or escape, without realizing that this very resistance is what amplifies the discomfort. That struggle locks us into a cycle of anxiety. Stoic wisdom proposes radical acceptance, not as a passive surrender, but as the brave recognition of reality exactly as it is. By stopping the fight against the inevitable, you stop being a victim of circumstances to become the conscious protagonist of your response. Acceptance is the key that opens the cell of unnecessary suffering. This act of spiritual maturity transforms our perception of adversity. Instead of seeing pain as an enemy, we begin to recognize it as a teacher, revealing our true capacity for resilience. Pain is inevitable, but our attitude toward it determines whether it destroys us or strengthens us. Stoicism does not seek to eliminate the wounds of life, but to change your relationship with them, allowing you to see beyond the present moment. Every challenge is a transitory opportunity for inner growth. By accepting life with dignity, you open yourself to a more authentic existence. To integrate this lesson, we must cultivate constant vigilance over our judgments. Every time you face a loss, stop and observe your own resistance. Ask yourself honestly if you are wasting energy on a wall that will not move, and if so, choose to let go. This inner peace does not arise from the world being perfect. It arises from your will to face vulnerability with humility and patience. Over time, this practice connects you with the constant flow of life, freeing you from the tyranny of expectations and allowing you to live with serenity. Ultimately, true freedom is born from the ability to accept life as it is, and to respond to it with unbreakable virtue. We have learned to master our inner fire, to discern our battles, and to embrace reality. Now, the torch is in your hands. Do not wait for the chaos to disappear to be happy. Build your strength in the midst of it. If these lessons have resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe and leave a comment. Which of these pillars will you apply today? Remember, the world may tremble, but your soul can remain firm. Keep your center, cultivate your wisdom, and walk with a steady step toward a life of true inner peace.